Lions Training Camp 2025, Dan Campbell's confidence, roster battles and injury updates. Lions Training Camp, Dan Campbell enters year 5 with steady confidence despite changes, plus latest updates and insights. Allen Park, Michigan, nothing stays the same, seasons evolve, players come and go, coaching staff shifts happen. But Dan Campbell? He remains a constant force. Now stepping into his 5th year leading the Detroit Lions, Campbell has transformed this once struggling franchise. What was once a team often lingering at the bottom of the league standings now carries a different reputation, one built on smart decisions and solid leadership. The big question used to be whether Campbell could guide the Lions to merely an average season or sneak into the playoffs. Today, after a remarkable 15-win campaign, the conversation has flipped: can they sustain that success? But hold on, here's where it gets tricky. The NFL is famously ruthless, and last year offered a stark reminder of that. What looked like a year destined for greatness ended with nagging injuries and a disappointing first-round playoff loss, despite earning the top seed in the conference. In this league, teams can rise fast and crumble just as quickly if the right leadership isn't in place. Campbell, however, isn't fazed. He's sure the Lions will continue to reflect his vision. Over the offseason, he focused on surrounding himself with coaches truly aligned with his approach and the team's core mentality. These players don't need extra pep talks, motivation is baked into their DNA, which is exactly why they've earned their spots. And even if the excitement around this season isn't as electric as last year's buzz, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Sometimes quiet confidence speaks louder. Here we go. New year, year 5, Campbell shared on Sunday. The message hasn't changed. It's about who we are, what we believe in, staying hungry, putting in the work, and never being satisfied. I believe we'll be just fine with that mindset. We have the right people here, and they've been building this for a long time. As training camp kicks off, here's what's catching our attention about the Lions. A step back. Not so fast. Despite their talent, many analysts expect the Lions might take a slight step back in 2025. Why? No NFL team has ever won 15 games in back-to-back seasons. So from a purely win-loss perspective, regression seems likely. But much of the worry also centers on their coaching staff changes. Both offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn have moved on. Last season's success came despite losing key players, thanks largely to Campbell's top-tier coaching team. Notably, 2 of those coordinators earned promotions to head coaching jobs elsewhere, and 2 former assistants became coordinators with other franchises. Week after week, that staff kept the Lions performing at a high level. Naturally, people question if the team can repeat or exceed that this year without them. Campbell hears the chatter but simply isn't bothered. Frankly, it doesn't matter what I say, it's already been written, Campbell said. The narrative is out there. If we lose a game, it's coming. If we don't do well offensively, it's coming. If the defense struggles, it's coming. That story's been written, and I can't change it. But personally, I don't think it's going to play out that way. This is Campbell's moment to solidify his status among the NFL's coaching elite, if he hasn't already. Critics label him a one-dimensional meathead or say he merely copies his coordinators. But his bold style of coaching combined with his knack for hiring staff who amplify his approach have become trademarks of his leadership. That philosophy guided his hiring of offensive coordinator John Morton and defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepard, both of whom understand and embrace Campbell's methods. This chemistry might allow for a smoother transition than some expect. Campbell acknowledges the challenge ahead. It hurts losing 2 guys who have been with us from the beginning, people I trust deeply, he said. There's a depth of unspoken communication you build over years, just a look or nod that says everything. Johnny Morton, Shep, and I are working to develop that, but it takes time. Practice, preseason games, that's where it starts. We'll get there, he added confidently. Key position to watch, the offensive line. One of the biggest storylines early this year is the Lions' offensive line. Just last season, it was one of the league's best units, but now it's going through some changes. Center Frank Ragnow, an all-pro stalwart, retired this offseason, and Pro Bowl guard Kevin Zeitler left in free agency for the Tennessee Titans. Both Graham Glasgow and Taylor Decker dealt with injuries last year and are moving closer to the twilight of their careers. Campbell is keeping a particularly close eye on this group. "My eyes are on the O-line," he said. "We need guys to step up. Losing Frank and Kevin leaves multiple spots open. Once we find those 5 guys who can trust and work together, that's when things take off." The Lions have wisely prepared for this, drafting 2 promising players in 2024, Giovanni Manu and Christian Mahogany. Mahogany, who filled in admirably as a rookie, looks set to start at left guard. Manu, a developmental tackle with all the physical tools, will be given time and guidance to reach his potential. Anticipating Ragnow's possible retirement, the Lions also invested a second-round pick on Georgia's Tate Ratledge this April. In a savvy move, they traded up in the 5th round to select Miles Frazier, a prospect many think could start early, much like Mahogany. This wave of young talent is already on the roster. How they blend with veterans depends on coaching, and early practices show Ratledge and Glasgow sharing time at center. Ratledge seems poised to take the lead there while Glasgow adjusts. Mahogany has shown he can be a force, evident when he threw Derek Barnes to the ground during a team drill, a fitting display for a player nicknamed Dirtbag. If the starting 5 line up as Taylor Decker, Mahogany, Ratledge, Glasgow, and Penei Sewell, the mix of youthful promise and seasoned experience could bode well for the team's future. Still, the key question is how this group gels when the regular season heat is on. Battling injuries before the season even starts. The injury bug has already made its presence felt. Campbell confirmed Sunday that defensive tackle Levi Onwuzurike will miss the entire 2025 season after undergoing ACL surgery. This marks the second time in his 5-year career he'll be sidelined for a full season, a big loss for Detroit's defensive interior depth. Adding to the pain, defensive tackle Alum McNeil tore his ACL late last season and is expected to miss the first few months of this year. Mekhi Wingo, recovering from a meniscus. Detroit Lions 2025 Training Camp Day 1 highlights, Tate Ratledge shines at center. Imagine stepping into the world of professional football training camps, where every move and decision holds significant weight for the future of the team. The Detroit Lions kicked off their 2025 season with the first day of training camp, and while much was as anticipated, there were some surprising twists and turns that caught everyone's attention. On Sunday, the Lions hit the field without their usual protective gear, limiting practice to a mere 90 minutes. This brevity is standard for the opening day, as per NFL rules, which allow teams to gradually increase practice time over the next few sessions. By Saturday, when season ticket holders begin arriving, practices could stretch to 2.5 hours, possibly with players donning light protective shells under their jerseys. Following a mandatory day off on Sunday, the Lions resumed training on Monday, with the potential to don full pads and face a wider audience. Participation report ***. Player availability can fluctuate daily at this stage. Some athletes receive rest days if they pushed themselves too hard previously, while others work their way back from pre-camp injury lists, PUP and NFI. New injuries may also arise, adding another layer of uncertainty. For those who missed the latest roster updates, here's a quick recap. Levi Onwuzurike, sidelined indefinitely after ACL surgery, won't be joining the team this season. Alex Anzalone, Alquadin Muhammad, and Anthony Pittman were absent from practice due to various reasons. Ennis Rakestraw exited early with a reported chest injury. Several players, including Taylor Decker and Josh Paschal, who were initially on the PUP and NFI lists, participated fully. Notably, Pittman was seen working with trainers and expressed confidence in practicing the following day. First look at the new offensive line ***. Coach Dan Campbell emphasized the need for fresh leadership on the offensive line, stating, "We need some guys to step up for us here. It's a great opportunity. We lost Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler, so we have a few spots open for new contributors." During the 11-on-11 practice segments, the lineup looked like this. Left tackle, Dan Skipper. Left guard, Christian Mahogany. Center, Tate Ratledge. Right guard, Graham Glasgow. Right tackle, Penei Sewell. With Decker out until the Hall of Fame game, Skipper took over at left tackle, Mahogany moved to left guard, and Ratledge continued his development at center. Despite the lack of pads, the line demonstrated cohesive movements throughout the day. One standout performance came from Mahogany, who dominated Derek Barnes on a pulling play. Mahogany, versatile enough to play both left and right guard, showed why his adaptability is valuable to the team. Reserve players *. The second and third string lineups included a mix of veterans and rookies. Left tackle, Giovanni Manu/Mason Miller. Left guard, Netane Muti. Center, Kingsley Egwakun/Michael Nees. Right guard, Kayode Awasika/Tristan Colon. Right tackle, Jamarco Jones/Colby Sorstal. Egwakun, a rookie who spent last season on the practice squad, impressed by taking most of the second-string center reps, positioning himself as a strong contender for a reserve spot. Expected developments *. Several familiar dynamics remained consistent, such as the strong connection between Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the increased use of deep routes in the offense. The first-team matchups were particularly exciting, featuring notable duels between Terrion Arnold and Jameson Williams, DJ Reed and Tim Patrick, and Amick Robertson and St. Brown. However, the interaction between St. Brown and Reed in two receiver sets deserves close monitoring. St. Brown's dominance over Reed suggests potential challenges for the team's defensive strategies. Unexpected developments *. The Lions experimented with formations featuring two running backs simultaneously, which could present new defensive challenges. Jahmyr Gibbs and the incumbent back expressed excitement about the possibilities. Another notable change involved Pat O'Connor taking over the 4-eye role previously occupied by Levi Onwuzurike. O'Connor, familiar with the position from his time in Tampa Bay, seems well suited for this transition. Emerging roles *. Zach Cunningham stepped into a larger role as Alex Anzalone was absent. He filled in for Barnes at will in 3 linebacker sets and also got reps at Mike 2 with the second-string defense. Meanwhile, Morris Norris and Loren Strickland capitalized on their experience, showcasing their skills in various defensive roles. Their presence could challenge younger players for starting positions. Special teams highlights *. Ian Kennelly, a rookie undrafted free agent, stole the show with a spectacular interception during 7-on-7 drills. His play exemplifies the depth within the Lions' safety unit. Other rookies, like Jackson Meeks and Zach Horton, also made contributions, highlighting the team's commitment to developing new talent. In terms of special teams, Grant Stewart took the first-team personal protector role on punts, while Amick Robertson and Rock Ya-Sin shared gunner responsibilities. Maddox and Norris continued to support the punt block formation. As the Lions continue their training camp journey, these early observations provide valuable insights into the team's strategy and depth. But here's where it gets controversial. Who among the emerging talents will secure a starting role? Will these new formations prove effective against NFL defenses? And what impact will the injuries and absences have on the final roster? Share your thoughts in the comments. Detroit Lions training camp, O-line competition and new offensive strategies. The Detroit Lions may have one of the most feared offenses in the league, but their Super Bowl hopes could be decided before a single regular season pass is even thrown. The real battle, the one that truly matters, is happening right now in the trenches. When Detroit Lions head coach Dan Campbell stepped up to the podium before the first training camp practice, he left no doubt about where his attention is fixed. Asked which position group he was watching most intently, his response was immediate and clear. "My eyes are on the O-line," Campbell stated, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. "We've got to sort this O-line out. It's an open competition right now, and that's going to be important this camp, as we've got to find some guys that we know we can count on. They're going to win the job, they're going to be guys we can rely on." This intense focus is born from necessity. The off-season saw the Lions lose two foundational pillars of Th.